Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Wright. I'm the Executive Director of Ring of Hope and the host of Getting the Ring.
And I am your co-host, Cinnamon Moore.
And I am your co-host, Rastus Hill.
And so we're so happy you guys are joining us this episode. Today we're talking about surviving the holidays. Now, the holidays can be very difficult for people in general for different reasons. But because of COVID-19, I think the holidays are going to be even more difficult with all these restrictions that we have now, the number of people that could come together, having to be socially distant. And so we want to just start a conversation among ourselves about how we feel about it, what are our holiday plans, and then we have a mental health professional coming on later in the show to give us some tips on how we could deal with all of this from a mental health standpoint without losing our minds, because for many of us, holidays have traditions associated with holidays. They go back for generations in our family.
Absolutely.
I mean, we just have, what do you call it? I mean, they're staples in terms of what happens every year for Thanksgiving. And so now we have the mayor and the governor saying, because of COVID, we can't do it. I know people are freaking out because some of you are always going to Big Mama house. You always go to your cousin's house. Once again, these have become staples in our family. So we want to have an honest conversation. Let me say this. Because COVID is new for all of us, all right? Nobody knows how to feel. And so however you feel, it's okay, because this is a new experience for all of us. So I'm going to let my co-host just chime in and just talk about it, because I told Cinnamon we were going to argue. Because she did not want to mention COVID-19 in this show. She is done with COVID-19. She don't want to hear it no more. So we went back and forth about using the word COVID-19. So I'm going to let her go first. And you tell us how you feel about COVID-19 and the impact that it's having on our holidays.
You know, I've had it up to here with COVID. We've been in this thing now for roughly 8 months. And so my personal opinion is, you know, how we went back and forth about the word COVID is, to me, let's not give it that much life. We are giving this thing life. It's everywhere you turn. The TV, the radio, social media, everything is about COVID. Is there not anything else going on in the world? That's all I'm saying. I don't deny that COVID exists. Let me just say that. I understand it's real. It's affecting people, but it's also affecting people psychologically. And that's the part that's bothering me. It's because, you know, mentally, people are having anxiety attacks and all type of foolishness that they've never even had before. You know, just panicking, scared to go outside.
So it's like you have like the whole COVID fatigue. You know, just tired of it.
Yeah.
I can agree, because you're absolutely right. We're going to talk to a mental health professional about the psychological impact it's having, because I thought I was okay. But I can really begin to feel this social distancing having an effect on my mental health.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you, because let me say this, they both were against it. It wasn't just her, it was him too. They were double teaming me, and thank God for Mr. Gunn. So he also did not want to mention COVID-19. So tell us why you don't want to mention COVID-19.
The reason I didn't want to mention it for this show is because we want this show to carry on for years to come.
Okay.
And I believe COVID is going to die down, and people are going to look back to this show from years from now and going to say, you know what, how can I deal with the holidays without my family?
Okay.
So I want to be like a light, you know, for people to be happy and say, you know what, I can do this. You know, because a lot of people are depressed right now, not only just mentally depressed, but they're financially depressed.
Yes.
When you can't hug people, when you can't be in people's surroundings, when you can't go out with friends, it really affects people.
Yes.
So I think this holiday, for them to counsel it, not only have the mayor and the governor counsel it, but I think the White House or somebody from the federal government said, you know what, stay at home, do not travel. So that's something else that we have to look at.
And I agree with you guys, don't get me wrong, but I just thought it was very important to address the elephant in the room, because this holiday is unlike any other holiday because of COVID-19. I think some of the same issues we have every year with family, they're going to always be there. But this time they're saying you can't even go around your family. Yeah. And so I think that's really something that's making this different. And it's not just Thanksgiving, it's Christmas and New Year's. And so how are we going to survive this? Now, I told you all before, we are not the COVID police. All right, we're not trying to tell you what to do, but I will say this. I believe, like Tamika said, that COVID is real and people are getting sick. And my concern is for those that have pre-existing conditions and not affecting them. So I think that whatever we do, we need to use some precautions, use some common sense. Because I see some people out there they have COVID fatigue, they're not wearing no mask, they're not washing their hands, they're just fed up with the whole thing. And personally, I think that's irresponsible. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. Are you all so fed up with COVID that it's to heck with all the restrictions and everything? Was it just what?
Well, I would say, me personally, I think that everyone should wear a mask. You have opportunities where you're not around people, you don't have to wear a mask, but to protect yourself and protect the people that you come in contact with, wear your mask, wash your hands. I mean, this will be over real soon.
Yes, that's a good thing.
Don't panic over it. Love on your neighbors, love on your kids, hug your wife or your husband more. I've been hugging my wife a lot lately. You know, she be like, hey, get up off me. I be like, hey, come on, it's COVID. I gotta get a hug. You know, so it helps you out mentally.
Yes. So how do you feel about the whole mask and washing hands? Do you think that's legitimate or do you think it's over the top?
First of all, I think it kind of really depends on what type of mask you got on. Because I watched the demonstration where those surgical masks, they took a can of aerosol spray and sprayed right through it. So if somebody sneezed, it ain't really stopping nothing, you know? So I think the suggestion was the KN95 was the best mask to wear or whatever. But I mean, again, like you said, I'm not the COVID police. If you don't have a mask on, that's totally on you. I don't really have an opinion about it, you know, but when it comes to my family, I remember when this thing first started, you know, and, you know, me and my husband was used to Sundays, we with the family, you know, we playing cards, we putting in, making meals. And so when this thing hit, all of that stopped. By April, March, when it first started, the first couple of weeks, that by the end of that month, we was like, this ain't really gonna work. We're gonna have to start doing some drive-bys or something. And that's what we started doing. And then probably 2 weeks after that, my cousin called me and was like, tried to call and said, I'm tired of this now. We need to play cards, we need to hang out. You know, Anthony said the same thing. And I said, well, you know what? Anthony said, if I'm gonna catch COVID, I'm catching it from one of y'all. Plan the family gathering. And we did. And we've been doing it ever since.
I think those, for clarification, I think those surgical masks are not to protect you who's wearing it. It's to protect the people from you coughing and the mucus coming out. And it's basically holding everything inside.
But she said that the demonstration that it went through the mask didn't do the job.
I thought she they sprayed it this way.
No, she said it was coming out with the aerosol can. So yeah.
Oh wow.
And I'll say this, and I hear what both of you guys are saying. I think it really hit close to home for me when someone I know or knew died of it. I think that's when it really hit close. But I really think that in the beginning, there was so much we didn't know about COVID, and people were dying. There were not many therapeutics, but now, people are still dying, unfortunately, but I think that the mortality rate is a lot different now because we've learned more. Now, some people on Cinnamons Live, one person said, they're going to enjoy it. Who said they're going to enjoy their life?
Luana said that she's going to cook dinner, her and her family getting together because life is too short. You could be here today and gone tomorrow. And I get that. I understand it.
But do we play with life?
I don't think it's playing with life. I really don't. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, they're going to be safe. They're going to do whatever they do. But, like for me and my family, we've been around each other for the last 8 months. So ain't nobody got sick yet, Yeah. We kind of know what everybody is doing.
it's like having a relationship with someone and saying, you know what, we've been together for years, and that person go out in a relationship and bring somebody else into the relationship, and all of a sudden everybody got it.
Well, I want us to just talk a little about what our plans are personally, because we've all given our opinion, but what are we going to do?
Right.
What are we going to do? And so my wife and I had a conversation, because normally we go to her brother's house downstate, and so we're probably not going to do that for a number of reasons. And then for New Year's, we normally go to her mom's house. And it's kind of sad because her brother lives out of state, downstate, and the mom lives in the north suburbs, so they really only see each other once a year. And so since he's not coming up this year, they won't see each other. So I can only imagine the impact that may have on them psychologically in terms of the relationship. So what it looks like for me, I'll be at home and my wife will cook a dinner, and then we'll enjoy Thanksgiving as a family. What are you guys doing?
I'll be in Memphis with the family, enjoying Thanksgiving.
Okay. Rash, what about you?
Well, normally we travel, but this year we might not travel because of the band. So, I mean, we're going to make the best of whatever situation we wind up in.
And so with that said, once again, this is new for all of us. And so for us to tell you how to feel, it would kind of be irresponsible on our part, because we're all experiencing this together. And so we're not judging anybody. All we're saying is whatever you do, be safe. Now, we've laughed and we've joked, but COVID is real. And people are getting sick, people are dying. So we're not saying don't see your family. We're saying if you do, just use precaution. Wear a mask, wash your hands, do the best you can, because as Cinnamon said, this is not only a health crisis, it's also a mental health crisis. And so we're going to continue. We're going to talk to a mental health professional shortly after this.
And I had 2 suggestions, though, right?
Go ahead.
So for families who aren't getting together, what you probably can do, I know like with our family, one person normally make this dish, one person normally make that dish, and we all come together in one space. So of course I'm not gonna be here this year for that. So I was thinking, maybe what families can do, those that have decided not to all come into one space, but different households that's part of the big total family, make a dish and go be a blessing to somebody else.
That's a great idea.
There's a whole slew of people on 51st and Wentworth. I don't know, them people just my heart right now, y'all. So yeah, I'm advocating. Y'all don't, you ain't doing the whole family thing. Let the family meet up on 51st, outdoors, and whatever food you was gonna make and take it to Cousin Sue's house or Lily's house, all y'all bring y'all dishes and some styrofoam plates and feed 51st Street today.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
What else I thought I had wrote down? Be anonymous giver. Be anonymous. Give someone something. Even if you have a circle. Y'all need to plan and say, you know what, let's just cash out such and such, $10.
And you know what? Like I said, we've been emphasizing Thanksgiving because it's right around the corner. We do have Christmas and New Year, so that could be a great idea for Christmas, Now, you also mentioned about not spending too much money, so we need to also think about that as well.
Yes, most definitely. Parents, what you can do, this is a good excuse. Use it. Kids, we cannot buy gifts this year because of COVID. So
they're not trying to hit it. That ain't gonna work.
So COVID's not going to cancel Christmas.
It's not. COVID is not canceling Christmas, but you get it. But the one thing, and I think the reason why this is like probably getting on my last nerve, is because I have an aunt that's in a nursing home, and she has some issues. You know what I mean? To where mentally, she has the mind of, because of some past stuff, of a kid basically. So she doesn't understand why her brothers and sisters them are not coming to see her right now. And it's really bothering her to the point where it's causing some real health problems for her. So even if you got people in nursing homes, instead of going as one big family, maybe the family can schedule different times where, if that person that's in that nursing home feel like they got 20 wave visits. in one day, you know, meaning Raz go 1 hour with him and his family, you go 1 hour with you and your family, I go another hour, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it seems like back to back, somebody's
and we have to be creative like that. You know, even if you can't go in, I've seen people do drive-bys and windows, but we have to find some type of way to stay connected during the holidays because they mean so much to us. As I said, they're a staple in many of our families. That's how we come together, that's how we connect. So we want to be wise and make sure that we be creative and enjoy the holidays, survive the holidays.
Exactly.
With COVID or without COVID.
And you know what? You don't have to guess who's making the meal this year because you're making your own meal. Who's making potato salad? You don't have to guess that no more. You make your own potatoes.
There you go.
Okay, well now.
So we're going to now talk to a licensed mental health professional, Tamika Hill, and she's going to share with us some things that we could do to survive the holidays regarding our mental health during COVID-19. Because we know that, once again, this is not only a health crisis physically, but also a mental health crisis. So there are some things that we could do from a mental health standpoint to help us survive the holidays with COVID-19. So we're continuing our conversation on surviving the holidays with COVID-19. And so we had a discussion with our co-hosts, and we were just talking about what people were doing in terms of family gatherings, in terms of how they're going to be creative with COVID-19. And so I'm so happy now to have with me a good friend of mine. She's a licensed mental health professional, Ms. Tamika Hill, and she's going to share with us some things that we could do from a mental health standpoint to survive the holidays during COVID-19. But before that, tell us about yourself and about your business. What do you do?
Like I have a private practice. I am a licensed clinical social worker. Step by Step is the name of my practice. I have been in private practice, I think, about 4 years maybe. A little bit about myself would be, I also have a lot of trainings in various areas, trauma training, certification. Actually, I got just recently certified in COVID-19 for anxiety, doing telehealth as well. So that was a very extensive training, which would be actually helpful to this particular conversation.
And so we want to just give some people some bullet points, some things they could do from a practical standpoint to survive, because as I mentioned earlier, holidays are staples in our families. And, you know, it's a time for us to come together, to connect, to socialize, all that good stuff. And during this virus, for us not to be able to do that, it is affecting us in terms of our mental health. So give us some pointers, some things that we could do to really help us survive the holidays during COVID from a mental health standpoint.
First, I want to say how strong the mind is, because ironically enough, during the holidays when we are with our family, most people used to be on their devices, recording. When we were in restaurants, we mostly interacted with our social media versus actually in person with each other. So it's funny how the mind works. So now that it's the only option, we're like, no, I'm tired of it. I don't want to do it. But before COVID came, that's what we did. So some of the mental health points of view that we could do is really get creative in this season. One, I do know there are some people who are just plain isolated anyway. And for those people, I would like to address them first, because I believe they will be affected way more, because some of them suffer from depression already from isolation. So I would say get up, move your body, Zoom people, FaceTime people. Also, learning new traditions could kind of help also if you're like from a big family. And I heard Cinnamon say, I think about they want to play cards. Well, there are so many virtual ways to play cards now, any kind of game. And because we have Cash App, Zelle, you can, if you're a gambler, you can sell each other the money.
I didn't even think about that.
And virtually like play the game. Because we are in such an inventive world right now, very creative, there are so many things, especially the young people can come in and teach some of the older people with all of our new devices. So also how every holiday people put up their plates. Never fails. So TikTok is very popular right now. So why not cook the recipe, show the recipe, and make a TikTok video out of it? Another thing you could do is have TikTok family dance, create a new dance and share it amongst the family. And you could even do it virtual and have somebody like record it as a YouTube. And that way the world can see it and you can go viral and make some money off of it. So it's a lot about just getting a lot of being creative with things that we're used to. I know a lot of people, it's very controversial about the COVID and spending time with your family, but you always want to be safe no matter what you feel about COVID one way or another. And mentally, if we stay in our negative space, you definitely will continue down that pipe if that's where you stay. I'm not saying that I'm not realistic that we won't have negative thoughts, but don't stay there. Call somebody. I don't care if it's a hotline. I don't care if you're just calling some customer service, if you just need to hear a person. Because sometimes some people don't have family. So what do they do? So yeah, I just feel like maybe we have to just get creative in this time.
Yeah, and I thank you for those points because I think those are great ideas, playing cards online, reaching out to somebody. I think it's really important for us to also know when we're being triggered emotionally.
Yes.
Sometimes your body can tell you when your mental health is not where it needs to be. We need to pay attention to that.
Yes.
And so one of the things I do is I do deep breathing. So when I find myself becoming dysregulated, I take deep breaths. And I know that the more we hear about COVID and the news, sometimes it just throws us off hearing it. And so when we feel that unease in our bodies, we have to find some people exercise,
yes,
some people meditate, so there are different things, but you have to really find what works for you. Because when you feel it in your body, if you don't address it, once again, as you said, you start to go down that downward spiral. We call it a pipe, a downward pipe.
Yes.
Now, and I want to say this before we wrap it up, because you're also a woman of God. So from a spiritual standpoint, what are some other things that we could do? Because I believe that we have to marry the natural and the spiritual. Yes. So we've talked about things we could do with the natural, but for those who are spiritual, what are some things that they can do?
For myself, I'm an introvert anyway. So one thing I do find myself when first unplug from the news and plug up into a sermon. That's one of the first things I suggest to people. There are so many sermons, so many free resources spiritually out there now that you could never say there's nothing. Even if you don't have cable, most people have government phones that have access to YouTube, Facebook, all those things. So if you're not a person who reads the Bible, listen to the Word. There are podcasts, there are a lot of things. Even if you don't read the Bible, there's an app I know that reads the Bible to you.
Yes.
Get on Start Girlfriends Night and talk about me and my girlfriends. We actually started a book club. And what we've done is we pick a spiritual book and we virtually meet and we have discussed it once a week. And it's really helpful for the spiritual side.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. And I want to reiterate that we've been focusing on Thanksgiving, but even after that, then comes Christmas and New Year's. So I think that this information that we're giving you can help you because we have to survive this, right? I mean, survival is not an option, but the way we survive is by being practical, being optimistic, being prayerful, being spiritual, and then even using some of this practical stuff that we're giving people. So I want to thank you so much for coming on and giving us this advice. And once again, we're going to survive the holidays with COVID.
Oh, yes.
We're going to survive it.
Yes.
And so I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. We're going to also share with you some other resources at the end that could also help you survive the holidays during COVID-19. COVID-19, right.
Yes. You renamed
Thank you.
it.
See you again.